Imagine your daughter's birthday party, laughter, friends, cake, and suddenly a woman you don't know storms in. She points at you, her eyes cold and accusing, and exposes a secret you've done everything to protect. Everyone stares, shocked. Your daughter, your greatest pride, looks at you with disappointment and hurt. What would you do if your entire life was revealed in an instant? Have you ever faced a moment when everything seemed lost? How would you react if the person you love most doubted you? And what if a secret threatened to destroy what matters most? Before we dive into this emotional story of courage, love, and resilience, make sure to follow our channel for more inspiring stories that will touch your heart. Get ready, because this is the story of a mother who faces the impossible to protect what she loves most, her daughter. Laura wiped her hands on her apron, the scent of coffee lingering in the small diner. The lunch rush had passed, leaving only the hum of the refrigerator and the clatter of dishes. She glanced toward the corner table where her 12-year-old daughter, Lily, was quietly drawing in her notebook. "You're amazing, Mom," Lily said without looking up. "I mean it. You work so hard for me." Laura smiled, hiding the exhaustion in her eyes. "Thanks, sweetheart. I just want you to have everything you need." Those words, simple as they were, carried a weight that only Laura truly understood. Beneath the warmth of her apron and her everyday demeanor, there was a secret, a life nobody knew, one she carried with precision and caution, a life that allowed her to keep Lily in a good school, in dance classes, and with hope for a future that sometimes seemed just out of reach. Her other job wasn't something she could ever speak about. It was a world of luxury, hidden rooms, whispered promises, and polished men who could afford to pay far beyond the reach of a waitress's salary. Laura had become an escort for wealthy businessmen, a calculated choice born out of necessity, not desire. Every penny she earned went into a savings account, earmarked solely for Lily's education and the home she dreamed of buying one day. At night, when Lily slept, Laura would sometimes sit in the dark, staring at her phone, thinking about the fine line she walked. One wrong message, one careless exposure, and her life and her daughter's perception of her could crumble. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she whispered to herself. "It's moving forward despite it." The diner's door chimed, pulling Laura back to the present. A familiar customer waved at her, and she returned the smile, tucking her secret away like the apron she wore. Her double life demanded discipline, an ability to separate the mundane from the extraordinary, the ordinary from the perilous. Yet every time she saw Lily's laughter, it felt worth it. Later that evening, after the dishes were washed and the diner had emptied, Laura tucked Lily into bed. She brushed her daughter's hair back and kissed her forehead. "Sleep tight, my brave girl," she said softly. "Mommy's always here for you." Lily, eyes heavy with sleep, murmured, "I know, Mom. You're my hero." Laura's heart ached with both pride and guilt. How could a hero keep a secret like hers? How could she maintain dignity while navigating a world of pretense and temptation? She pressed a hand to her chest, reminding herself that every choice had a purpose, that love sometimes required sacrifices that nobody could see. Weeks passed, and the routine continued. School runs, late shifts at the diner, secret meetings with clients who never saw the mother behind a mask. Laura became a master of compartmentalization. At home, she was a mother full of warmth and laughter. In the other world, she was poised, polished, and untraceable. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, she sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the envelope of cash she had tucked away. "This is for Lily," she whispered. "Every cent, every risk, every secret, it's all for you." Her mind drifted to thoughts of what would happen if someone discovered her secret. She imagined the shock, the betrayal, the disappointment in Lily's eyes. The fear gnawed at her, but it did not break her. She knew that courage and dignity were not found in comfort, but in perseverance, in the determination to rise even when the world threatened to pull you down. Laura's life was a delicate balance, a dance between love and secrecy, between survival and moral complexity. She often repeated a phrase she had read once: sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep going, even when the path is hidden in shadows. In those quiet moments, when the world seemed far away, she allowed herself a small smile. Lily's laughter, her belief in her mother, was the light that made all the shadows worthwhile. And despite the danger, despite the fear, Laura held on to her secret tightly, not out of shame, but out of fierce love. Because being a hero, she realized, was not about perfection. It was about choosing every day to protect those you love and never lose sight of the life you are building together. As she turned off the kitchen light and headed to her small bedroom, Laura whispered to herself, "One day Lily will understand, and I will have done everything to make sure she thrives." Outside, the city lights twinkled, indifferent to the battles fought in small apartments and quiet diners. But inside, Laura felt the weight of her mission, the quiet pride of her choices, and the determination to continue, even if it meant living a double life. Strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. And so, in the soft embrace of night, mother and daughter dreamed of a future they would fight for together, with courage, with hope, and with love. The morning sun streamed through the small kitchen window, casting golden light on the colorful decorations scattered across the counters. Balloons lay in piles, ribbons curled gracefully, and a cake, half-baked, half-decorated, waited for its final touch. Laura moved around the apartment with a mixture of excitement and anxiety, each motion deliberate, every detail significant. "Mom, look, I made a sign for my party," Lily shouted, holding up a piece of construction paper adorned with glitter and stickers. "It says, Lily's 12th birthday bash. Isn't it amazing?" Laura knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. "It's perfect, baby. Absolutely perfect," she said, smiling with genuine warmth. But beneath the smile, a shadow lingered, a storm of fear, ever present. The secret she carried, the one she had protected for so long, was never far from her mind. In recent days, strange messages had started to appear on her phone. They were from a number she didn't recognize at first, filled with subtle threats and ominous hints. Laura's heart raced each time she glanced at them, but she pushed the fear aside. Today was Lily's day, and no threat, no past mistake would ruin it. She whispered under her breath as she worked, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It's showing up even when fear is screaming in your ears." The apartment slowly transformed into a celebration. Plates were arranged, drinks chilled, and small gifts were neatly stacked. Laura even managed to sneak in a few extra touches: fairy lights around the living room and a homemade banner that spelled out Lily's name in bright, cheerful letters. She had always loved birthdays, not just for herself, but because they were a moment to create joy for the people she loved most. Lily flitted around like a hummingbird, her excitement infectious. "Mom, do you think everyone will like the decorations?" she asked, tugging gently at Laura's sleeve. "They'll love it," Laura replied softly, "because you put your heart into it, just like we always do." Despite her reassurance, Laura's mind was elsewhere. The messages she had received earlier that week had been becoming more persistent, more insistent. She knew someone had discovered the other side of her life, and the thought of that exposure gnawed at her. One wrong move, one careless message, and everything could fall apart. To cope, she focused on the details she could control. The cake had to be perfect, vanilla sponge with chocolate frosting and Lily's favorite caramel drizzle. She arranged party games on the living room floor, making sure each activity was safe, fun, and engaging. Even the playlist was carefully curated: upbeat songs to make the children laugh, a few classics for the adults. "You're really good at this, Mom," Lily said, hugging her. I wish we could do this every day. Laura hugged her back, feeling a twinge of both joy and sadness. I wish we could too, baby. One day, we will have lots of days like this. As the first guests began to arrive, Laura's nerves fluttered like butterflies trapped in her chest. Friends from Lily's school, neighbors, and a few family members greeted them warmly. Laughter and chatter filled the apartment, bringing light and life to the carefully prepared scene. Laura moved gracefully, ensuring every guest felt welcome, every child engaged, and every smile genuine. And yet, lurking beneath the joy was a shadow. A knock at the door, a chime of an unfamiliar ringtone, or even a glance from someone who knew too much. It could unravel everything she had built. She forced herself to breathe, repeating a mantra she had learned long ago. Strength is not in avoiding the storm, but in standing tall within it. Laura's thoughts drifted to the reasons she had chosen her double life. It had never been about greed, desire, or vanity. It had always been about Lily, about giving her daughter the stability and opportunities that life had denied Laura in her own youth, about creating a foundation for a future where Lily could dream without limits. She adjusted the final balloons, stepped back, and watched the room fill with light, color, and laughter. It was beautiful, an oasis of joy she had created with her own hands against all odds. But beneath the happiness, the tension lingered like an uninvited guest. As Laura helped Lily arrange party favors for the children, her phone buzzed discreetly on the counter. She glimpsed the message, the single line that made her stomach drop. It wasn't threatening in a loud or obvious way, but it carried the weight of revelation. Someone knew, and they were coming. Laura's heart thumped, but she kept her composure. "Everything's going to be fine, Lily," she whispered, more to herself than to her daughter. "Just focus on the fun. Just for today, let's celebrate." Lily smiled, oblivious to the undercurrent of danger that threaded the morning. "I can't wait for everyone to see the cake," she said, spinning with delight. Laura's hand shook slightly as she carried the tray into the living room, balancing treats and drinks. Every step was careful, every movement deliberate. She reminded herself, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward anyway. By midday, the apartment was filled with the sounds of celebration, children laughing, parents chatting, and the hum of a day carefully orchestrated to bring joy. Laura stood in the doorway, watching it all, feeling a mixture of pride, love, and dread. For today, she would be just a mother. Not an escort, not a secret holder, not a woman living in constant tension. Today, she would be Laura, the mom who gave her daughter a birthday to remember, despite every shadow that loomed nearby. And yet, deep in her heart, she knew the shadows weren't gone. They were waiting, watching, patient. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is smile while holding your fears close. Because the love we protect is worth every risk. Laura squeezed Lily's hand and smiled, even as the weight of the secret pressed heavier than ever. The party was perfect. But in the world outside those walls, the storm was already gathering. The apartment buzzed with life. Children ran through the rooms, laughter echoing off the walls. Balloons floated lazily in the air. The sweet scent of vanilla and caramel cake permeated the space, and ribbons twisted playfully along the windows. Laura moved carefully among the guests, balancing trays of food and drinks while keeping an eye on Lily, whose excitement was almost palpable. "Mom, look. My friends are here," Lily exclaimed, tugging at Laura's hand. Her eyes sparkled with joy, innocent and carefree, completely unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the threshold. Laura smiled, crouching to her daughter's level. "I see, baby. Everyone looks so happy. Let's make sure we have a day to remember." The hours passed smoothly, a picture-perfect scene of birthday celebration. Parents chatted amiably. Children squealed with delight over party games, and the cake was finally placed on the table in all its decorated glory. For a moment, Laura allowed herself to breathe, to feel that rare sense of normalcy and happiness. And then the doorbell rang. Laura frowned slightly. Most guests had arrived already. She opened the door cautiously and froze. There, standing with a controlled smile and icy eyes, was a woman dressed in elegance that seemed almost designed to intimidate. She held a small envelope, crisp and deliberate, as if the very paper carried judgment. "Laura," the woman said, her voice cutting through the cheerful chaos of the party. "We need to talk." Laura's stomach dropped. She knew immediately who this was, the wife of one of her wealthy clients, someone who had discovered the truth. I don't understand," Laura began, her voice trembling, though she tried to steady it. "What is this about?" The woman stepped inside uninvited, her eyes sweeping the room and landing on the gathering of children and parents. "Oh, I think you do, Laura. I know exactly what you've been doing." A hush fell over the apartment. Conversation ceased. Games paused mid-laugh, and even the children sensed the sudden shift in energy. Guests exchanged worried glances, unsure what was happening. Laura felt her world tilt. Her hands gripped the edge of a chair. "Please, it's not what it looks like," she tried, but the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. The woman's lips curled into a cold smile. "Don't play innocent. You've been an escort, haven't you? Using your charm to earn money from men who could never be here, in this world you're pretending to live in." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Laura's face burned with shame, not just for herself, but for Lily, who had stopped in her tracks, confusion and hurt clouding her wide eyes. "Mom, is this true?" Lily asked, voice shaking. You've been lying to me?" Laura's heart shattered. Every careful choice, every secret she had kept for Lily's future, now seemed to crumble under the weight of exposure. "Sweetheart," she began, choking on the words. "I did it for you. Every choice I made, every risk I took, was to make sure you have a future, a safe and comfortable life." Lily shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't understand. How could you keep this from me? I thought you were different. I thought you were honest with me." Laura felt the floor shift beneath her, as if the apartment itself had become unstable. She tried to reach for her daughter, but Lily stepped back, hurt and disbelief painting her small face. Guests murmured among themselves, casting uncomfortable looks at Laura. Some whispered judgment, others glanced sympathetically at the young girl. Laura's explanation seemed futile, a thin veil against the tide of shock and scandal that had just invaded her carefully controlled life. I never wanted anyone to know," Laura whispered, voice cracking. "I only did this to give you everything you need. I wanted to protect you from a world that was going to be harsh anyway. I thought I could handle it alone." But Lily's disappointment was palpable, slicing through the room like a knife. "I don't want to talk to you, Mom," she said softly, yet firmly. I need time away from this. From you." Before Laura could protest, Lily ran to her coat, snatched her bag, and left the apartment, followed closely by her grandmother who had come to comfort her. The sound of the door closing echoed like a verdict, leaving Laura frozen amid the chaos of the party. The guests, unsure how to react, slowly began to leave. Balloons deflated unnoticed, half-eaten cake sat on the table, and the laughter that had filled the rooms only hours before was replaced by an eerie silence. Laura sank onto the floor, tears slipping down her cheeks. The weight of her choices, the exposure of her secret, and the visible pain in her daughter's eyes crushed her. The apartment felt impossibly large, cold, and empty. She thought of every risk she had taken, every late night, every secret meeting. She had believed she could protect Lily while giving her the best life possible. Now she faced the reality that even the purest intentions could lead to heartbreak. Alone, surrounded by remnants of a celebration turned catastrophe, Laura whispered a quiet prayer. Give me the strength to make this right, even if it takes everything I have. That night, the apartment was silent except for the soft ticking of the clock. Laura sat on the couch, her mind racing with fear, regret, and uncertainty. She knew this was just the beginning of a long road to redemption, a path she would have to walk alone until she could rebuild the trust that had been shattered. Courage isn't always loud, she thought, wiping her tears. Sometimes it's the quiet, desperate hope that we can rise again, and that we can still be worthy of the people we love. And so, in the stillness of the ruined celebration, Laura faced the first of many challenges. Her life had been exposed, her daughter's trust fractured, and yet, somewhere deep inside, she held on to the faint glimmer of hope that love, honesty, and perseverance could still guide her back to the future she had fought so hard to create. The apartment felt empty in a way Laura had never experienced before. The echoes of laughter that once filled the rooms had vanished, replaced by silence that pressed against her chest. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the remnants of Lily's birthday, deflated balloons, half-eaten cake, scattered party favors, symbols of a celebration that had crumbled in an instant. Her phone lay beside her, the screen dark now, no new messages. But the weight of the recent confrontation still lingered like a heavy fog. Laura's hands trembled as she rubbed her face, trying to hold back the tears. She had imagined this moment hundreds of times, always fearing it would come, but never in such vivid, crushing reality. The knock at the door startled her. She wiped her eyes and opened it to see Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who had always been kind, standing with a gentle, concerned expression. "Laura, are you okay?" Mrs. Patterson asked softly. "I heard what happened at the party. I wanted to check on you." Laura's lips quivered. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like I've lost everything in one moment. My daughter, her trust, the life I've tried so hard to build." Mrs. Patterson stepped inside and offered a comforting hand on Laura's shoulder. "Sometimes life gives us storms we can't predict," she said gently. "But even storms pass, Laura. Even storms pass." Laura nodded, swallowing hard. "I never wanted Lily to know about everything. After her father left, I was desperate. I had no one to help me, no family, no support. I just wanted to make sure she was safe, that she had what she needed." Mrs. Patterson's eyes softened. "And you did, Laura. You did what you had to do. But secrets have a way of coming out. The important thing is what you do next." Laura sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. She thought back to the night she first agreed to work as an escort. A friend had suggested it, saying it was temporary and would help her save enough for a home and Lily's education. At the time, she had hesitated, but the thought of providing a better life for her daughter had outweighed every fear, every moral dilemma. All the money, it was for her, Laura whispered to herself. Every cent, every risk, all for Lily. The room was quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. The realization hit her with full force. She had to face the consequences of her choices. Her daughter was hurt, her reputation exposed, and the world seemed heavier than it had ever been. Mrs. Patterson sat beside her, a quiet presence offering strength without words. Laura finally looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "I don't know if she'll ever forgive me," she admitted. "I don't even know if I can look at her the same way after what she's seen, what she knows." Mrs. Patterson reached for Laura's hand. "Forgiveness takes time, but love endures. You've always put your daughter first. That counts for more than you realize." Laura let out a shuddering breath, the first small release of the tension she had carried for weeks. I wanted her to have a normal life, a childhood that wasn't weighed down by my mistakes." I thought I could protect her from everything, but I failed. I failed her. You didn't fail her, Laura, Mrs. Patterson said firmly. You made choices out of love. That's never a failure. It's bravery. Tears slipped silently down Laura's cheeks. She thought about the empty apartment, the echo of Lily's pain, and the years she had spent juggling a life no one could understand. She realized then that solitude, though painful, was necessary for reflection. Only by confronting the truth could she hope to rebuild what had been broken. For hours, she talked with Mrs. Patterson, sharing details she had never spoken aloud. About the ex-husband who abandoned them, the struggle to keep food on the table, the nights she spent in fear while trying to balance two worlds. Every word brought a measure of relief, a step toward clarity. I don't know if she'll ever understand, Laura said finally, her voice steadying. But I need to be honest with her, with myself. I can't keep hiding anymore. Even if it costs everything, she deserves the truth. Mrs. Patterson squeezed her hand. Then start there. Honesty is the bridge. It won't be easy, but it will take you closer to her heart than any secret ever could. Laura nodded, feeling a fragile spark of hope ignite. She thought of Lily's small, trusting face, the pride in her eyes when she spoke of her mother, the way she had always believed in her. That trust had been shattered. Yes, but love had a resilience Laura could not forget. As night fell, Laura sat in the quiet apartment, the city lights casting faint patterns across the walls. She thought of the road ahead, difficult, uncertain, and filled with obstacles she could scarcely imagine. But for the first time since the party, she felt a small sense of resolve. I will tell her everything, she whispered, and I will fight to earn her trust back. No matter how long it takes, no matter how much it hurts. She's my daughter. She's my heart. In the solitude of her home, Laura allowed herself a single, deep breath. Loneliness had taught her the value of honesty, the weight of choices, and the strength required to confront the consequences of a life lived in secrecy. Courage isn't about never falling, she reminded herself. It's about rising again, even when the ground beneath you has vanished. And with that thought, Laura felt the first stirrings of determination. She would face the truth, face her daughter, and begin the slow, painful journey toward forgiveness, reconciliation, and the hope of rebuilding the life they both deserved. Lately, Laura had started noticing strange sensations, lightheadedness, sudden waves of dizziness that seemed to come out of nowhere. At first, she brushed it off, attributing it to stress and exhaustion from work and caring for Lily. But one afternoon, as she was preparing dinner, the world tilted, her knees buckled, and she collapsed to the floor. Laura shook her head weakly, trying to catch her breath. She thought she was fine, but just a few days later, it happened again, another dizzy spell, another moment of helplessness that left her frightened and vulnerable. That was the turning point. She knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. With a mixture of fear and determination, she made an appointment with the doctor, hoping for answers, but secretly dreading what the truth might reveal. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and quiet despair. Laura sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the white walls, feeling as though the weight of the world had suddenly collapsed onto her chest. A small envelope of medical reports rested on the table beside her, its contents threatening to shatter the fragile hope she clung to. The doctor's words echoed in her mind, replaying over and over, "It's serious, Laura. You need treatment immediately. There is a risk to your life." Her hands trembled. She had spent years protecting Lily, keeping her safe, providing for her, sacrificing her own comfort, and now her own life was in jeopardy. Every thought spiraled. What will happen to Lily if I'm gone? Who will care for her? Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall, swallowing hard against the rising panic. The apartment, the diner, her secret life, all of it suddenly felt distant, meaningless, if she couldn't be there for her daughter. Just then, a soft knock came at the door. Before Laura could answer, the door opened, and Lily stepped inside, followed closely by her grandmother. Lily's eyes, red-rimmed but shining with concern, met her mother's, and for the first time in months, Laura felt a mixture of relief and heartbreak. "Mom," Lily's voice trembled. "We heard. We came as soon as we could." Laura reached for her daughter, but Lily hesitated, the memory of betrayal still fresh. I don't know if you should be here, baby," Laura whispered. "I've hurt you so much, and now I'm sick." Lily shook her head, stepping closer. "I don't care about that right now. You're my mom. I need you. Grandma and we're here for you. You're not alone." Her heart swelled with both love and guilt. "I'm so sorry, Lily. For everything. For the secret, for the lies, for hurting you." Lily's small hand reached for Laura's. "Mom, you did what you thought was best. We might not understand everything, but I love you, and I want to help you get better." The presence of Lily and her grandmother softened the edges of Laura's fear. For the first time in months, she felt the warmth of family, the strength of love that transcended mistakes and secrets. But even as she clung to that hope, the reality of her illness pressed heavily upon her. "This treatment, it's expensive," Laura admitted, her voice low. "I save money for your education, Lily, for our future. I never expected to need it for myself." Lily's eyes widened. "Mom, we don't care about the money. We care about you. Your health, your life. That's what matters." Laura choked back tears. The irony of her situation wasn't lost on her. The very money she had earned through secrecy and risk, all intended for Lily's future, could now save her own life. Yet the thought of using it stirred a strange sense of justice and desperation. "I promise, baby," Laura said, her voice steadier now. "I will get through this. I will fight, and I will do whatever it takes to stay with you." Lily smiled faintly, squeezing her mother's hand. "We'll fight with you, Mom. You're not alone." Over the following days, Laura faced the harsh reality of her illness. Doctors outlined treatments, procedures, and recovery plans. Every appointment, every test reminded her of how fragile life could be. But amidst the fear, she found unexpected strength in the support of her daughter and grandmother. Late at night, when the apartment was quiet, Laura often reflected on the path that had led her here. The double life she had carried, the sacrifices she had made, and the mistakes she had hoped Lily would never discover, all seemed distant compared to the immediate challenge of survival. She whispered to herself, "I survived fear and shame for you, Lily. Now I will survive this for you." One afternoon, as she rested in the hospital bed, Lily leaned close. "Mom, I forgive you," she said softly. "I don't understand everything, but I forgive you. And I'm proud of you. You've always been strong. Now let's make sure you stay that way." Laura's tears flowed freely this time, but they were not just tears of sorrow. They were tears of relief, gratitude, and renewed determination. She realized that love could heal more than illness, that forgiveness could rebuild trust, and that the bond between mother and daughter was stronger than any fear, any secret, or any mistake. She made a silent vow. The life she would reclaim would be honest, pure, and shared openly with Lily. The days of double lives and hidden sacrifices were ending. From this point forward, she would live with integrity, courage, and love at the center of every choice. The treatment plan was daunting, expensive, and exhausting, but Laura approached it with a new mindset. Every needle, every therapy session, every difficult moment was a step toward reclaiming her life and restoring her relationship with Lily. She reminded herself constantly, strength is not measured by what we endure alone, but by how we rise with the ones we love by our side. Weeks passed. Pain and fear were constant companions, but so was hope. Lily's presence became a source of motivation, her laughter a reminder of what Laura was fighting for. Even the grandmother's quiet encouragement offered a sense of stability and reassurance that Laura had longed for during her months of isolation and secrecy. And finally, one morning, after another grueling session, Laura whispered, "I will get better. I have to. For Lily, for us." It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where fear still lingered, but love, courage, and determination blazed brighter. The illness had threatened to break her, but it also illuminated the path forward. Honesty, family, and the unyielding will to survive and protect the ones she loved most. No matter how dark the night, hope shines brighter when we refuse to give up. And love is the strongest medicine of all. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow over Laura's apartment. The space, once filled with chaos and secrets, now hummed with cautious hope. Today marked the beginning of her intensive treatment, a process both exhausting and expensive, but essential for her survival. Lily, now more composed and reconciled after weeks of distance, sat at the kitchen table, helping Laura organize her medication and supplements. Her small hands moved carefully, but there was an unmistakable air of pride in her eyes. "Mom, we can do this," Lily said, her voice steady and encouraging. "We'll get through it together. You're not alone anymore." Laura's throat tightened, emotions surging. "Thank you, baby. I don't know what I'd do without you." The truth was clear. The money she had painstakingly saved, earned through years of sacrifices and secrecy, would now serve to restore her health. For a brief moment, irony struck her. A life built on hidden labor, a double life of secrecy, now being used to secure the very future she had fought to protect. She allowed herself a small, rueful smile. "This money, it was always for you," Laura whispered, thinking of Lily's education, her home, the dream she had invested in for years. "But now, it's going to save me, too." Weeks of treatment followed, each day a battle of endurance. Laura faced grueling sessions of therapy, countless medical procedures, and moments of despair when progress seemed slow or non-existent. Yet, through every challenge, Lily and her grandmother remained constant sources of support. Their presence reminded Laura that her fight was not just for herself, but for the love that anchored her to life. "Mom, remember what I told you?" Lily asked one evening, brushing her mother's hair back gently. "You're the strongest person I know. You've faced so much already. This is just another challenge. And you can overcome it." Laura nodded, holding back tears. "You've always been my strength, Lily. Every decision I made, every secret I kept, it was all for you. And now every fight I endure, it's because I want to be here for you to watch you grow." During these days, Laura reflected on the lessons life had forced upon her. Courage was not a momentary act, but a daily commitment. Integrity was not a choice made in comfort, but in adversity. And love was the invisible force that could transform fear into resilience, despair into determination. Despite being offered opportunities to return to her old life, to work with clients who could provide unimaginable sums, Laura found herself refusing. The temptation was strong, but the cost was no longer worth it. She had endured enough secrecy, enough fear, and enough moral compromise. Her priority had shifted entirely. Lily, her health, and a life built on honesty. One afternoon, after a particularly tough session, Laura sat quietly with Lily by her side. "You know, baby, even when I was scared, even when I thought I couldn't go on, I kept thinking about the life we could have. And that thought, it kept me moving forward." Lily hugged her mother tightly. "And you made it this far, Mom. You're winning. You're really winning." Laura felt the tension that had gripped her for years slowly easing. Every therapy session, every moment of discomfort, every night spent fighting fear was now transforming into a victory. Not just over illness, but over the shadows of her past, the shame, the secrets, the double life she had led. "Mom, one day we'll look back at all of this," Lily said softly, her voice full of hope. And we'll see that we survived, that we became stronger. Together, Laura smiled, tears streaming silently. Yes, baby. Together, the weeks turned into months. Laura's body began to heal, her strength returning gradually. Each milestone, another successful session, a clear medical report, a day without pain, felt like a small triumph, a reminder that perseverance and love were far stronger than fear or illness. Finally, the day came when Laura received the news she had been longing for. Her treatment had been successful. She was cured. She felt a surge of relief, gratitude, and overwhelming joy. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to envision a life free from secrecy and fear, a life where honesty, love, and family were at the center. Mom, you did it, Lily said, her voice trembling with pride. You're okay. You're really okay. Laura hugged her daughter tightly, inhaling the scent of her hair and feeling the warmth of her small body pressed against hers. We did it, baby. We made it through. And from now on, no more secrets. No more hiding. Just us and a life we can be proud of. That evening, as they sat together on the couch, Laura reflected on the journey she had endured. The illness had been a cruel challenge, but it had also illuminated the truth she had always known. Her greatest strength was love, and her most important treasure was the bond with Lily. Even as she faced the remnants of her past, she knew the future was now hers to shape. A life of integrity, honesty, and hope awaited, and she was ready to embrace it fully, with her daughter by her side. Healing isn't just about the body, she whispered to herself. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and the love that gives you the courage to rise again. The morning sun spilled warmth into Laura's newly organized kitchen. The apartment, once marked by chaos and fear, now resonated with the calm energy of hope and determination. The days of secrecy, illness, and fear fell behind her, replaced by a new mission, building a life of honesty and stability, side by side with Lily. Lily, now fully reconciled and beaming with pride, sat at the counter, helping her mother brainstorm ideas. Mom, what if we start small, like selling something homemade? People love that kind of thing, she suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Laura smiled, the fatigue of recent months fading in the light of possibility. Actually, I've been thinking about something my grandmother taught me, her homemade skin creams. Simple, natural, and people love them. Maybe we could start there. Lily's face lit up. Yes, that's perfect. We can even make small packages and sell them online. Everyone loves personal touches. The two of them dove into the project with a contagious energy. Laura measured ingredients with precision, adding natural oils, herbs, and care, while Lily decorated the labels with hand-drawn designs and cheerful lettering. The apartment buzzed with creativity and laughter, the kind that comes from building something together rather than hiding behind secrets. Mom, this smells amazing, Lily said, sniffing a jar filled with creamy lavender lotion. I think people are going to love it. Laura laughed softly, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment she had never felt before. It's not just about the money, baby. It's about doing something we can be proud of, something honest and meaningful. They worked late into the evening, photographing their products, designing social media posts, and planning a small launch. Laura recorded videos for a YouTube channel she decided to create, teaching skincare routines, natural remedies, and beauty tips. Her confidence grew with every clip she uploaded. She spoke to the camera not just as a guide, but as a mother sharing life lessons, resilience, and the power of starting over. Hi everyone, Laura said in one recording, her smile steady and warm. I'm Laura, and this is a space where we'll learn about natural skincare, self-care, and most importantly, how to embrace life's challenges with courage and love. Join me on this journey, and let's grow together. Lily peeked behind the camera, giving her mother a thumbs up. You're amazing, Mom. People are going to love you. Orders started to come in slowly at first, then began to surge. People resonated with the authenticity of their products and the heartfelt story Laura shared on her channel. Each comment, each message of encouragement, fueled their determination further. Laura realized that this new life, built on honesty, love, and hard work, was far more rewarding than any secretive, high-paying arrangement she had ever endured. Late one afternoon, as they packaged a batch of creams for shipment, Lily looked up with admiration. Mom, look at what we've built. We did this together. Laura hugged her daughter tightly, feeling tears of joy and gratitude. Yes, baby. And it's just the beginning. We've come so far from fear, secrecy, and illness to this moment of creation, honesty, and hope. And I promise you, we'll keep moving forward together. The success of their products allowed them to secure a comfortable life. Laura could finally provide Lily with stability, education, and opportunities without compromising her integrity or values. Every challenge she had faced, from the exposure of her secrets to her illness, had prepared her for this moment. She had learned that real strength is born from courage, perseverance, and love. One evening, as the two of them sat on the couch, Laura reflected on their journey. You know, Lily, life didn't give us the easiest path, but it did give us something important, the chance to rise, to rebuild, and to find joy in honesty. Lily leaned against her mother, a quiet smile on her lips. I'm proud of you, Mom. You're my hero. Laura's heart swelled. She looked around at the products, the YouTube setup, and the small but growing business they had built together. It was more than financial stability. It was a life they could be proud of, one where integrity, love, and resilience were at the forefront. Remember, baby, Laura whispered, every challenge we face is a chance to grow. Every setback is an opportunity to rise stronger. And every day is a gift we can shape with love and courage. That night, as they closed the small shop, turned off the lights, and sat together in the quiet apartment, Laura felt a profound sense of peace. The shadows of the past, the double life, the illness, the betrayal, had been replaced by light, hope, and the joy of a mother and daughter united. Mom, can we make more videos tomorrow? Lily asked sleepily. Laura laughed softly, kissing her daughter's forehead. Of course, baby. Tomorrow is another day to create, to inspire, and to share our story. Together. The journey had been long, painful, and filled with uncertainty, but it had led them to a life they could embrace fully. Laura had rediscovered herself, rebuilt her bond with Lily, and transformed hardship into opportunity. And as they sat together, dreaming of the future, Laura knew this was just the beginning of a life lived with honesty, love, and courage. No matter how dark the past, every new day holds the promise of hope, growth, and joy. And when we rise together, nothing is impossible. If you were inspired by Laura and Lily's journey of courage, love, and transformation, follow our channel for more stories that will touch your heart, inspire your spirit, and remind you that even in the hardest times, hope and strength are always within reach.